What's going on, YouTube? It's the Raving Wolf, the Reformation Keegan, and today I am here with the booking, and it's a what if to be more specific. What if Eddie Guerrero never passed away in 2005? So that means in November of 2005, Eddie Guerrero unfortunately passed away due to a heart attack. But what if he never had that heart attack and Eddie ended up finishing a full career? I'm going to go through it year by year, and this is going to be part one. If you're interested in a part two, after this part one, let me know in the comments. And also don't forget to smash that subscribe button because it really goes a long way. So now we're going to start. What would Eddie be up to and how are we going to move forward with his career? Let's begin now. So we're going to start off at the end of 2005. This is where Eddie Guerrero is contending for the World Heavyweight Championship with Batista and is currently in a storyline with him. So it is rumored that Eddie Guerrero was going to take on Batista and Randy Orton on the Super Show SmackDown, where Eddie Guerrero was scheduled to win the World Heavyweight Championship. That match ends up happening, and The Undertaker, since he's still in a feud with the Legend Killer, costs Randy Orton the match, and Eddie hits a frog splash to win the World Heavyweight title. This protects Batista in defeat, and at around this time, the Animal needed to take some time off due to some lingering injuries, but it would only be for the short term. But this is just to get the title off Batista and to give Eddie a second chance at the World Heavyweight title going into 2006. Eddie ends up heading into 2006 as the World Heavyweight Champion. However, about a month and a half later, Batista returns for the Royal Rumble to face Eddie in a singles match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Batista returns to beat Eddie for the title, and this short title run was to see if Eddie would be able to be okay with the championship again, because in 2004 he felt the pressure of the attendance gates and the drawing numbers and felt like it was his fault. So this short title run is to see how Eddie does as the champion and to see as a trial and error phase of where we can go forward. This title run ends up being successful, and Eddie will get another chance at the championship. On the same night, in the Royal Rumble match, Eddie steals a number from the draft lottery to enter the Rumble match near the end. He enters at around between 25 and 27. He enters the ring, and the people that are in the ring are the likes of Chris Benoit, The Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, Rob Van Dam, Kurt Angle, Randy Orton, Triple H, and most of all, Shawn Michaels. So Eddie enters the match. He lays out everybody, looks like he's going to win to some extent until he throws out Shawn Michaels. The Heartbreak Kid comes back in, decks Eddie with a sweet chin music out of retaliation, and this costs Latino Heat the match. Following the match, Eddie is interviewed, and he is furious with Shawn Michaels since Shawn was already eliminated. So this story is a little taste of Eddie's own medicine, where he ultimately is the one doing the cheating, but this time he gets screwed. So it sets up Eddie Guerrero versus Shawn Michaels going forward at WrestleMania 22. And at WrestleMania 22, they have a great match, they have a great build. Shawn Michaels beats Eddie Guerrero, especially when you look back going forward. Shawn Michaels did not win many WrestleMania matches at this time, so this is one that he kind of needed to win since he already lost to Kurt at WrestleMania 21 and lost the triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 20. So this sums up Eddie Guerrero versus Shawn Michaels. Following WrestleMania 22, Eddie takes a couple of months off to heal nagging injuries since he had a lot around this time. In July, however, Eddie returns to win a number one contenders battle royal to face Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. At SummerSlam, Eddie goes on to beat Batista to win the title again. And around this time as well, Batista would go on to feud with King Booker, while Eddie would defend the World Heavyweight Championship against his best friend, Chris Benoit. Benoit and Eddie have a match at No Mercy, and it's fantastic, but Eddie cheats to win. Then at Cyber Sunday, just like how King Booker did, Eddie beats John Cena and Big Show in a triple threat, featuring all three world champions. After the match, Benoit comes out to confront Guerrero, and this would be the first time he has seen since No Mercy since being screwed out of the championship. At Survivor Series, Benoit has the championship won again, except Eddie voluntarily gets himself disqualified after a low blow. This shows the desperation of Eddie as he couldn't creatively cheat to get the win, since now Benoit, even though he is his best friend, knows most of Eddie's tricks. He got caught this time and Eddie had no choice but to secure a low blow to keep his championship. As a result, Benoit challenges Eddie to an Iron Man match at Armageddon, because this match would do big numbers for a B-show pay-per-view. In the match, Eddie wins 4 falls to 3 and cheats for the first 3 falls before pinning Benoit with a frog splash in the final minutes. In the final seconds, Benoit locks in the crossface. Eddie looks like he's about to tap, but ultimately holds on to retain the world title. So this sums up Eddie's 2006. So he wins the World Heavyweight Championship a couple times. We kind of keep him away from Rey Mysterio since that's been done so much in 2005. He has a couple matches with Batista. He gets a little bit of time off. He has his dream feud with Shawn Michaels and faces Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight title. So now on to 2007. At the 2007 Royal Rumble, Teddy Long places Eddie Guerrero in a fatal 4-way match. He defends the World Heavyweight Championship against Batista, Kane, and Mr. Kennedy. Then at No Way Out, Eddie defends the World Heavyweight Championship inside the Elimination Chamber. He defends the title against Batista, King Booker, Chris Benoit, Kane, and Finlay. Eddie manages to find a way to survive in the match, and as he's celebrating, we hear a gong. The lights come back on. The Undertaker confronts Eddie inside the chamber and hits him with a tombstone pile driver to end No Way Out. Undertaker is still the winner of the 2007 Royal Rumble, and he chooses Latino Heat in his World Heavyweight Championship. The main event of WrestleMania 23 is set. Eddie Guerrero versus The Undertaker for the first time ever on TV. The only other time these two men wrestled in singles competition was at house shows in 2005, and there were reports that those matches were match of the year candidates. Undertaker's even gone on to say that he wishes he would have worked with Eddie Guerrero, and the two biggest stars on SmackDown wrestling in the main event of the Showcase of the Immortals. It doesn't get any bigger. In the lead up to the match at WrestleMania, Eddie goes to a darker place than ever before to outmatch the Phenom. If you think Eddie was unhinged in 2005 in the Rey Mysterio feud, look again. Eddie goes back to his heritage, his cultural roots. He goes back farther than ever before to try to match The Undertaker's darkness. At Mania, in a classic, The Undertaker dethrones Eddie after 30 minutes to capture the World Heavyweight title. This match is recognized as one of the greatest matches in the history of WWE. Then at Backlash, once The Undertaker defeats Chris Benoit to retain, Eddie returns for the first time since his defeat at Mania to leave The Undertaker bloody. However, both Benoit and Batista have gripes about their number one contenderships since they end up going to a draw on SmackDown, which means that the World Heavyweight Championship match at One Night Stand will be a fatal 4-way. The Undertaker retains here. It should be noted that Edge is drafted to SmackDown in the WWE draft as well. At Judgment Day, Undertaker retains against Eddie in a WrestleMania rematch, and this is another match of the year candidate. And Eddie is very frustrated afterwards. For Vengeance Night of Champions, Eddie is snubbed out of the World Heavyweight Championship match for Batista since Eddie lost his rematch. He goes unhinged about this as well. Despite not wrestling on the show, Eddie, who has become even more crazier as time has gone on, lays out both Batista and Taker with chair shots. He blames The Undertaker for driving him to this state. Then we hear, "You think you know me." Edge cashes in on The Undertaker, and Eddie keeps beating on the former champion after the cash-in. This is how Vengeance Night of Champions concludes. The Undertaker disappears until after the Great American Bash, where he challenges Eddie to a match at SummerSlam, but to end the feud, he wants to end it inside Hell in a Cell. Eddie brings the fight to the Phenom like never before. Eddie's craziness ends up coming out in this match. It's a very barbaric contest, but Undertaker ultimately gains retribution and ends the feud. So Eddie's feud with The Undertaker ends as an all-timer feud within the history of WWE. And this is also the match that writes off Eddie for several months, so he can take some time off to recover, because now he's about 40 and he wants to keep his body healthy at this time. While Edge and Batista, they hold up the fort on SmackDown and trade the World Heavyweight title back and forth. So this is how 2007 for Eddie